Yeah. Though we know who we are, yet we know not what we may be. So maybe I'm the one, or maybe I'm crazy. I'm from.
Welcome back to your No Malarkey Guide to Programming. My name is Kalu, and if you guys have been following the Kalu principles to learning a new discipline, you know that I believe in inductive reasoning, not deductive reasoning. I believe in bottom-up process, not top-down process. I believe in learning by examples, not learning by rules. What does that mean? That means doing lots of examples. And in this tutorial series, we're going to continue doing lots of examples. In the last video, what we did was we were able to render or describe all of our code in our HTML templates using this for loop. So with this for loop, we can render every single job listing in our job listings table. We see here is our job listings. What we want to do though is be able to add a job listing right here. We want the user to be able to add a job listing, and not only admins or people who have admin super user privileges or people who have specific privileges given by an admin. We want any user who goes to this webpage to be able to add a job listing. That way we can get as much data as possible. That's the name of the game, is getting as much data as possible, as many posts as possible. So how are we going to do that? We're going to add our first Django form. So I'm going to need you to go back to your index.html, or I'm sorry, go back to your Sublime, and we're going to go to this index.html. Right under here, we're going to add some Django code. Where are we? So in line number 28, we're going to go to the end of it and enter. And we're going to write form tab, that's form tab enter. And then we're going to write input tab enter, and we're going to write the type is going to be text, and the name is going to be, what should the name be? Let's see. Here in our job listings, to add a new job listing, we need to add a new title and a new description. So we want to give a new title. I'm going to copy this and paste it right here, as well as a description. Just like that. And we're going to see what it looks like by refreshing, and there it is, title and description. It doesn't look very good. There's no spaces, so we're going to add a space here and a space in here, and let's add a button here that allows us to press add new job posting or submit or something like that. So to add a new space, we're going to put our cursor here and just do BR tab. We're going to do another BR tab here, and then here we're going to add a button, and we're going to give it the type submit, and in here we're going to write submit. We're going to save this, Control Alt Tab to go back to the browser, and Control R to refresh. And look at that, that's looking a lot better. Why don't we add one tab or one break line in between this and this? So we're going to add one more break line, Control S, Alt Tab, Control R, and look at that spacing. Another thing we want to do is here, we want a placeholder to be able to tell us that, hey, you can go ahead and enter a job title here. And we also want a placeholder to say enter a description here. So let's write that inside of this input for the title. We're going to do placeholder, and we're going to say enter your job title. And then we're going to do the same thing here, placeholder, enter your description. And we're going to save it, go back, and look at that. Looks very beautiful. Now if we hit the submit, nothing happens, really. It doesn't do anything yet. For it to do something, we have to add a little bit more code. So under this form, just add this CSRF token. And if you're really curious, you can search what this means. It means cross-site request forgery. It's a way to protect this. It's a security feature that Django gives us automatically. If you really want to know more about what that means, you can go ahead and Google it. We're not going to go into it in this tutorial. So once we add that, we want to tell it that when you submit, make this a post form. This is the first time we're dealing with posts. As of now, we've only been dealing with GET requests. A GET request, imagine that every time you go to a web page, it's like someone visiting a house. You knock on the door, you say, hello, can I get some information? That door, that knocking on the door is the act of you typing in a web address and pressing enter in your browser, making that request. So the request you make is usually, hey, can you give me some information? Can you display some information of your web page? So when you go to google.com, you say, hey, can you display with this website? Or when you go to wikipedia.com, you look at the page for Manu Ginobili, the greatest generational basketball players to ever play the game, the person who changed the basketball game with the Eurostep, the person who everything is modeled after in the current basketball game, that Manu Ginobili, it will say, show me all the information that people have written about Manu Ginobili. Show me the Olympic games he's won, the medals he's won, the NBA championships he's won, and the All-Star game he's participated, as well as the NBA rookie all team that he won. So that is a GET request. It's going to a web address and saying, get me some information. We're going to do a POST request, which is going to a web address and saying, hey, I want to give you some information. This is something we haven't done as of yet, and we want to be careful when we're doing it. We only want to allow a user to give our server information when we specifically give that user permission to, or give the form permission to. So here we have to do method equals post right there. And in our view, we have to handle this request. As of yet, all this code only handles GET request. We have to run another code to handle an if request. So over here, at the very beginning, I'm gonna say if request dot post equals double equals means equality, single equals means assignment. Double equals saying, does this equal that? Single equals says, make this object, assign this object to the variable name. Okay, so double equals, and we're going to check to see if it equals post. Sorry, it should be request.method equals post. And if it equals post, we want to, I'm going to copy this line right here by Control C, or just right click. And I'm going to post it here and add some space and do some other code here. So the first thing I want to do is really, I just want to let me add this context dictionary, all this information. I'm going to put it above here just so we still have access to the context information inside of our if loop. So what we want to do in this if loop, let's just print some of that information. So let's get the title. Let's say the title equals request dot post dot get, and let's say get the title, and let's say if they didn't write a title, then just give us an empty string. And let's copy that and do the same thing for description. Oops. And in here, let's get the description. And what does this title mean? This title refers to whatever name we give our input right here. So if you put our title, then here we would also have to put our title. But let's just leave it a title because our title is a little verbose. So let's save that right here. And now that we have the title and description, we have it inside of our Python app. We have it inside of our views. We can do Python code with it. We can save it in our database. We can just do nothing with it. Why don't we just print it to our terminal right now? So let's print it to our terminal. I'm going to print the title 100 times, and I'm going to print the description 100 times, just so we really see it. So let's save this. We're going to refresh, and let's add a sample job title. Let's say I'm looking for a host for hip hop hackathon, and let's hit submit. And it returns, it doesn't do anything, doesn't actually post it in our database. But let's look at our terminal, and here we see that we now have that information. Host. There's that printed 100 times. Hackathon host for hip hop hackathon, and that's printed 100 times. So let's do something a little bit more interesting in our view than just printing it to our terminal. Why don't we save it to our database? So to save it to our database, we're just going to use this object that we imported here, and let's add some space in here to make that more nice. And we're gonna just use this object. So first, let's create job listing, and let's say it equals job listing.objects.create. And here we're gonna say the title equals this title right here. And here, let's call it, just so we don't get confused, let's call this posted title. And let's call this posted description, so we don't get confused by the names. We could also call this title, it doesn't matter. So say title equals posted title, and posted description, description equals posted description. And these names, of course, come from what we set up in our models. The names of our columns is set up in our models. So let's go back here. This looks good. And after this doesn't input it into our database. We first need to call this save method in joblistings.save that comes with every job listing object. And with this, it should be saved into our job listings database. So we're not gonna refresh that. I'm just gonna erase this and hit enter instead of refreshing. So I don't want to resend that request. So here, let's enter. We are looking for a host. We are looking for a host for our hip hop hackathon. Please contact Jerome at blah blah blah. And we'll save that. And here it is, host. And let's see that it's saved it twice. Let's go ahead and write another one. Let's say we are looking for vendor. Do you sell food? Want to be a vendor at our events? Contact Mike at blah blah blah. Let's hit submit. And it is submitted 2 times. Actually, it is not submitted 2 times. We can see that hosts only was submitted 1 time. If we go to our admin, we can check out our job list and see it's only submitted 1 time. So that tells us that the issue is in our templates. And we can see indeed here, we still have the second section that prints out the last. We don't need that anymore now that we have the for loop. So let's go back here, and I'm not sure if your code should have that, but if it does, just go ahead and erase this section. So, and we can refresh it and see that very good. Our submit works, and it is just showing 1 time. So we've done a lot. We've really built a full-fledged app. You can now go to this website. If you have it hosted on somewhere that's not your local host, but somewhere that is an open host that everybody can visit, and they can enter the job title, enter a description, hit submit, and it sends. So one thing we could do right now is maybe we can add some styling to this, some behavior. Maybe we can do something to where if we click on this right here, maybe instead of begin, it says add a new post, and this scrolls down. That would be pretty cool. So in the next video, we're gonna work on some JavaScript code to change this behavior and add some coolness to our website. You guys are doing a great job. I'll see you in the next video.
Financial freedom, my only hope.